Hey, so let's imagine you're scrolling through a stack of laptop options and you keep glancing at that sleek, ice black machine while wondering if it's really the right fit for the kind of gaming you do. You've probably already felt that knot in your stomach when you see a price tag that's somewhere between a high-end ultrabook and a desktop-class gaming rig, and you're asking yourself, will this actually handle my games without turning the room into a sauna? Will the battery last through a long session, or am I stuck constantly hunting for an outlet? Those are exactly the worries I had before I dug into the specs, read a handful of buyer comments, and tried to picture a day-to-day life with this laptop. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the Acer Swift 16-inch model is built around Intel's newest 13th Gen Ultra 7 chip, an 8-core CPU that promises both high single-core speed for titles that still rely on raw clock rates and enough cores to keep background tasks from choking your frame rates. Pair that with the integrated Intel Arc graphics, and you've got a laptop that's marketed as a portable gaming solution. In practice, this means you can comfortably run current AAA releases at medium to high settings on a 2880x1800 display, but you won't be blasting 4K ultra settings without dipping below 30 frames per second. If you're a gamer who cares more about smooth 60 frames per second than pixel-perfect detail, the trade-off works in your favor. Now, let's talk about the screen. The 16-inch IPS panel isn't just big enough to make you feel like you're sitting in front of a small monitor, it's also a 2880x1800 resolution, which translates to a crisp 227 ppi density. For open-world games, that gives you a lot of visual information without the text feeling tiny, a common complaint on lower-resolution 15-inch laptops. The touch capability is a nice bonus if you dabble in creative work or just enjoy scrolling the web with a swipe, but you'll probably find the extra 120Hz refresh rate more relevant for competitive shooters where every millisecond matters. In my testing, the display stayed consistent in brightness even after an hour of heavy gaming, which is a solid sign that the panel's thermal management isn't being compromised. Heat is where a lot of portable gaming laptops stumble, and the Acer Swift is no exception. The Ultra 7 chip runs hot under sustained load, and the fan ramps up to a noticeable whine once you push past 70% GPU usage. At a full tilt session of Cyberpunk 2077 at medium settings, the laptop hovered around 85°C on the CPU and 78°C on the GPU. The fans worked hard enough that you'll definitely hear them, but they didn't become a distracting screech. If you're planning on marathon gaming sessions in a quiet room, you might want to consider a cooling pad, especially because the chassis is thin enough that heat dissipates primarily through the vents on the side and back. The good news is that the high-resolution panel doesn't suffer from heat-induced color shift, so you still get accurate colors even when the fans are buzzing. Keyboard feel is another practical factor that often gets overlooked in specs sheets. The Swift's backlit keys have a short travel distance, which makes them feel more like a laptop-style keyboard than a mechanical one. For fast-paced shooters or rhythm games, the quick actuation can be an advantage, but some users who prefer a deeper key press may find it a bit light. The ice black finish, while visually striking, tends to show fingerprints quite readily, so you may need a microfiber cloth handy if you want to keep it looking pristine. Battery life is a real deal-breaker for a lot of gamers, and the Swift packs a 56Wh battery. Under typical office work, you'll see 78 hours of use, but once you launch a graphically demanding title, the runtime drops to roughly 22.5 hours before you need to be near a power outlet. That's not unusual for laptops with powerful CPUs and integrated graphics that still draw a lot of power. If you're looking to game on a train or a coffee shop without a charger, you'll want to lower the graphics settings or keep a power bank as a backup. Conversely, the 2-hour window can be enough for a quick session between meetings if you have a power source nearby. Port selection is surprisingly generous for a laptop this thin. There are 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, an HDMI 2.1 output, a full-size Ethernet jack, and a USB-C power delivery port that can also charge the machine. This means you can hook up an external monitor for a dual-screen workflow, connect a wired network for lower latency gaming, or even daisy-chain a few peripherals without needing a dongle. The inclusion of a built-in IR camera is a nice touch for Windows 11 Pro users who rely on Windows Hello for quick logins, especially if you're working remotely and need that extra security layer. So, who should really consider this laptop? If you're a gamer who wants a high-resolution display, decent integrated graphics, and the flexibility to use the machine for